President Trump hitting back hard against Democrats who say they want to take away your guns. 2020 candidate Beto O'Rourke leading the charge. He's refusing to back down after saying he'll confiscate guns. Trump tearing into Beto and others last night.
Left-wing Democrats want to confiscate your guns and eliminate your God-given right to self-defense. As your president, I will never allow them to take away your liberty, and I will never, ever allow them to take away your sacred right to keep and bear arms.
And another 2020 Democrat joining the calls for mandatory gun buybacks. Here's Kamala Harris.
A buyback program is a good idea. Now, we need to do it the right way. And part of that has to be, buy back and give people their value, the financial value of what they have, and not just take things from people that have value without compensating them.
All right, so Juan, for many, many years, Republicans have said Democrats are coming for your guns. And you guys would say, oh, no, that's not true. That's just a right-wing talking point. But now we know it's true. Because they are coming for our guns.
No.
So what is it like to be wrong?
You mean for you?
No, you won.
No, it's not true.
What do you mean it's not true? He just said it's true.
He said assault weapon. I don't know how many times, play any tape you want. He says we're coming for weapons
assault weapon
that
a
belong,
gun?
excuse me, weapons that belong on a battlefield intended to kill and maim. That's what he said.
That's every gun ever made.
They carry handguns
except for BB guns.
Yeah, but he didn't say handguns. He said assault weapons. Look, I think
Chicago gangs are safe.
The American public wants politicians to do something, but there's a disconnect with the politicians at this moment because the politicians are all trapped by the NRA money and media and threats. So look, here's my thought today, Jesse.
Okay.
Obama couldn't do anything about this even after Newtown. You know, Bush couldn't do anything about it. I think Trump has a unique opportunity. He's positioned in terms of his populist appeal and all that, and the fact that he's close to the NRA, to actually get something done. He says that he's not going to pick up on the Democratic House passed bill that requires universal background checks. But, Mr. Trump, if you would do that, Juan Williams, will sing your praises.
Will you vote for him? Vote for re-elect?
But I think, you know what, it's like what he did on criminal justice reform, Greg.
Yes.
Those other presidents didn't get it done. I think this guy could do something.
I've been saying that forever.
So what are the bipartisan ideas on reducing mass shootings that the president could possibly move forward on?
Well, I've talked about the civil tag system, which unfortunately Beto has totally effed up by making it about him. So he's now saying, like, when he sees somebody he doesn't like, he's going to call the FBI and say you can't have a gun. That feeds into the fears of people who own guns, that a civil tag or a red flag system will be used unfairly. I was hoping that wouldn't be the case, that you go to a court, you have people who are health workers or police officers or school principals that are there to talk about the students. Now, what Beto's done is made it sound like I could just make a phone call and you lose your guns. So he, to get the spotlight for himself, he really screwed up a lot of progress. I also think that there is progress to be made in cosmetic things that you put onto guns that aren't necessary, that tend to attract a certain kind of gun owner. People disagree with me on that, but that's okay. We can discuss it.
But, but wait a second. Answer Jesse's question.
I just did. I gave two things.
But seriously,
seriously.
I think it's like 80 or 90% say background checks are cool. 80 or 90% say red flags are cool, right? People, I think it's even most Republicans and most NRA members say all these big magazines with high capacity we don't need. Would you agree with that?
No, I just said. Oh, my God. I just talked about the civil tax system that I've been talking about for 2 years.
Oh, that's the red flag stuff.
Yes, and I also talked about, recently, I talked about the whole idea of the cosmetic additions to guns that don't change the power of the gun, that maybe attract a certain kind of user.
Yeah, because the AR-15, I mean, you really can't hunt with that because it can barely put down anything. I mean, it's not really that powerful of a gun, but they make much more powerful rifles that can really hurt people that the Democrats don't even talk about. It's just the AR because of the stylizations to make it look militaristic.
I do think that the White House is trying to figure out a way. What could they propose that would be able to get some bipartisan support? It is a tricky thing. I do think, however, I don't know if you read the story today, that the NRA, that there's concern on Republicans' in Republican circles that the NRA won't be as powerful in terms of get out the vote because of the troubles that they're having. But the thing is that Beto O'Rourke and Kamala Harris, for example, are doing that work for them. Like it's already going to energize people to come out to vote. So I do, and then the president, he might be able to find something to do on background checks, but the devil will definitely be in the details.
What do you think about the high-capacity magazines? You know, you have 10 in a usual weapon, maybe 30 in a rifle. Do you limit it at 60? Do you limit it at 100? Or is that something you think that people can get behind?
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe. I think that might be a regulation that more of a plurality might go for rather than mandatory confiscation. If I can focus on Kamala Harris, though, for a second, you know, for someone who has had decades of criminal justice experience, I find her oversimplification and also flip-flopping exhausting and really confusing. And she started with the take back and then now the buyback, which makes no sense because the government didn't sell it to begin with. But, you know, she builds herself out as a, quote, progressive prosecutor. But when she was California's AG, it was status quo. And under her reign, there were a lot of, frankly, atrocities that happened that now she has distanced herself from, right? The Supreme Court said your overcrowding in California is literally cruel and unusual. Prison labor, all of these things. And she came out and defended it by saying, well, I wasn't behind the office's messaging. I literally had no idea. I find that either inadequate or incompetent. And so for me, coming from California and with also a criminal justice background, that's why I wanted to take this moment to highlight her jumping on this bandwagon, which I think is ineffective. And I don't think it's energizing a base. I think it's simply rhetoric that people who take it one step further and think about the policy realize is totally ineffective.
And by the way, Kamala is now losing in California to Andrew Yang.